Hello, my name is Matt Wallace and I'm a principal consultant at Contino. Today, I'm going to talk about how automated deployments of SLIs and SLOs can be done using Sloth and Prometheus. We've only got 10 minutes, so we'll have to rattle through it quite quickly, but there is a Slack channel that will be available throughout the conference for questions and answers if you've got anything that you want to ask about either whilst you're watching this or at the end. Very briefly, I work for Contino. This is a bit more about us. I'll rattle through it, but effectively we're global. We can support all kinds of customers on all kinds of DevOps and SRE transformations. And one of my roles within Contino is to lead up the observability side of things and really help our customers move away from looking at RAM, CPU, and disk and start looking at more the promises that we make to our customers, which are so fundamental to SLIs and SLOs. One of the things that I am going to assume as we work through the agenda today is that everyone is familiar with what a service level indicator and a service level objective, an SLI and an SLO is. If you're not, there are plenty of other talks at this conference that will allow you to go through and to understand that. So I really do suggest that you go and check out some of the amazing talks, especially the fundamentals track, which my talk's part of, which looks at the basics. So today we're going to look at what's the end goal? What do we want to achieve here? The tools that we're going to use, the process that we go through in order to get to the goal we want, and what the results are. So if we start with the goal, it's really a question of, what do we want to achieve? And there's a quote at the top here from the SRE handbook. If you've not read the SRE handbook from Google, then I really do recommend that you read it. It's probably not the most environmentally friendly option, but I like to buy a paper copy so that I can scribble in the margins and add post-it notes and all the rest of it. But it is available as PDFs, and it's actually available for free as a website. And in that book, we talk about what is an SLI, what is an SLO, or the authors do rather, and about how we make these levels of services, these promises to our users of how well we're going to do and what we're going to present them with. And that's great, but we need to look at how we actually generate these SLIs and these SLOs once we know what they are. And for me, there's 4 things that we need to do. We need to be able to generate them in a really straightforward manner. We need to be able to use common formats for the configuration, familiar syntax, so that people can very quickly pick up how to do this. It's got to be automated. We should be able to, we're already deploying all of our infrastructure as code, so we should also be able to deploy a lot of our observability as code as well. And the deployment should be really simple. We should be able to fit this into any of our existing CI/CD patterns that are in use. So keeping all of that in mind, let's just go and look at the tools for a bit, and then we'll come back to the actual process itself shortly. So we're looking at 3 tools to meet the goal. Okay. One of them is Sloth. It's available at sloth.dev, and you can feed it YAML in various formats, including its own Sloth format, which is really quite straightforward to use. Kubernetes, for those of you that are familiar with that, it's got syntax up there, and OpenSLO as well, although there are some caveats around how it interprets OpenSLO rules at the present time. That's being worked on. Very quickly, for those of you that haven't seen OpenSLO, again, there are a number of talks that mention it throughout this conference. I really do recommend you have a look at those and have a look at openslo.com. The idea is that it's an open format that regardless of what your observability stack looks like, whether it's Datadog, whether it's Prometheus, Grafana Cloud, or Elasticsearch or anything else, it's a common framework for defining service level indicators, service level objectives. So yeah, like I say, go and check that out. We're also going to be using a cool tool called Cortextool, which is a bit of a mouthful to say in that sentence anyway. And this allows us to interact with the API for Prometheus or Cortex or Grafana Cloud or Grafana's new Mimir. I think I've pronounced that right. To upload the recording and the alerting rules that are generated by Sloth. And then finally, we have Prometheus. Now, in this talk, I'm saying Prometheus, but actually it could also be Cortex, it could be Mimir, it could be anything else that's compatible on an API level with Prometheus. The main reason I'm saying Prometheus and not the other tools is because most people know Prometheus. They've used it with Kubernetes or whatever else they're using. We're actually using this with this exact process with one of our clients at Contino, and we're pushing everything into Grafana Cloud. So it will work with some of the SaaS providers as well, or at least it'll work with hosted Grafana. So those are the tools that we're going to use. Let's start looking properly at the process now. So this is what the data flow looks like. We keep all of our SLIs and SLOs in whatever format we've chosen. We tend to veer towards Sloth format for now. We'll move towards SLO once the challenges around that with Sloth are straightened out. And we keep those in GitHub and we keep them next to the application code, and that's really important. So all of the developers know exactly where their alerting rules are, and they're in a directory next to their application code. When we do a git push and a merge, Sloth then generates the output, and I'll show you what that looks like shortly. And then Cortextool takes over and both validates the output and uploads it. And it uploads it to Prometheus Alert Manager. And like I say, this could be Prometheus, it could be Cortex, it could be anything else that's compatible. And then within Grafana, we've got these Sloth, SLI, and SLO dashboards that allow us to look into the data we've gathered and examine it and see where our burn rates are and our error budgets and things like that. So this is what Sloth Code looks like. This is one of the examples. It's for Unify Wi-Fi networks at home. I'm actually running this on my home network because I'm that sad. But that's what a Sloth Code looks like. And you can see it's fairly straightforward. We've got an error query and a total query and then what the alert should be. Sloth then turns that into something that's a lot more complicated, and it generates all of the Prometheus alert rules that are needed, along with any tags and services and what the SLO name is and what the window is, and it will generate them for 5 minutes, 30 minutes a day, all of that kind of stuff. I've not listed the entire file here because there's a huge amount there. Cortextool then takes this and creates, via posting to the Cortex API, the appropriate rules. And that allows us to move on to the result. So we've written our rules, Sloth's processed them, Cortextool has uploaded them to Prometheus, and in Grafana, under alerting, we see all of our Cortex and Loki rules. We can go dive deeper and we can have a look at those rules inside Grafana, and you can see to generate this level of Prometheus query is far more challenging if to write it out by hand than it is using a tool such as Sloth. And then finally, what we've got is our dashboards. So we have an overview dashboard, and it will show us all of our SLOs that we've got, the number of services we're monitoring, burn rates, things that are warning, things that are critical. It will tell us, which SLOs are exceeding the current burn rate, and it will graph all of these metrics for us as well. And then we can go into detail, and this is quite a small screen, so you can't really see. But here we've got a service called Home Wi-Fi. If we were in Grafana itself, we'd be able to drop that down and select the appropriate service. And it shows us, again, what the burn rate is exceeding, it gives us a time series graph of the burn rate. It shows us the error budgets for the current 30-day window. Again, you can change that when you write your sloth rules. It gives you graphs of the SLI and whether it's being met or not, what the monthly error budget burn looks like, all kinds of things like that. And this all comes out of the box using the Sloth dashboards. So that's it. I apologize. It was a very quick run through. If there are any questions at all, please do jump into the Slack channels. Feel free to get in contact with us at Contino if you think there's some way in which we can help you around your observability journey. Please enjoy the rest of the conference. As I say, there's many, many talented speakers, and many, many interesting talks. I'm off to watch a few of them now, but I'll leave you with one final remark, which is we are hiring. If you're looking for your next adventure, if you want to work for an amazing company and you want to specialize in observability, please do come and talk to us, and we'll see where we can fit you in to the Contino family. Thanks a lot. Bye.